Have you ever wondered how a boy born in a humble log cabin could rise to become one of the most revered figures in American history? Today, we're diving deep into the extraordinary life of Abraham Lincoln, a story of struggle, perseverance, and unshakable principle. Our story begins on February 12th, 1809, in a one-room log cabin in rural Kentucky. This was the world Abraham Lincoln was born into. Life on the frontier was tough. His family faced constant hardship, and when Lincoln was just 7, they moved to Indiana in search of a better life. It was here, amidst the dense forests, that a young Abe began to develop his lifelong love for reading and learning. Though his formal schooling was sporadic, totaling less than a year, he devoured every book he could get his hands on. He'd read by the light of the fireplace, filling his mind with knowledge and stories that would shape his future. His mother, Nancy Hanks Lincoln, passed away when he was only 9, a profound loss that left a lasting mark on him. His father, Thomas, later remarried a kind widow named Sarah Bush Johnston, who became a loving stepmother to Abe, encouraging his intellectual curiosity and thirst for knowledge. At the age of 21, Lincoln's journey took another turn as his family moved to Illinois. This move marked his first step toward independence. He struck out on his own, taking on various jobs to make a living. He worked as a storekeeper, a postmaster, and even a rail splitter, earning the nickname the Rail Splitter, which would later become a powerful symbol in his political campaigns. But Lincoln had ambitions that reached far beyond manual labor. He was fascinated by the law, seeing it as a tool for order and justice in a chaotic world. He began to study law books in his spare time, teaching himself the complex principles of the legal system. His determination paid off, and in 1836, he was admitted to the Illinois bar, officially beginning his career as a lawyer. This was a pivotal moment, setting him on a path that would lead him from the dusty courtrooms of the frontier to the highest office in the land. As a lawyer in Springfield, Illinois, Lincoln quickly gained a reputation for his sharp intellect, compelling arguments, and unwavering honesty. Abe was so well regarded for his integrity that he earned another nickname, Honest Abe. His law practice thrived, and he became one of the most respected lawyers in the state. It was also in Springfield that he met a spirited and well-educated young woman from a prominent Kentucky family named Mary Todd. Their courtship was complex, but their connection was undeniable. In 1842, they married, and over the years, they had 4 sons. Their family life was filled with both joy and profound sorrow, as they tragically lost 3 of their 4 boys before they reached adulthood. While building his law practice and family, Lincoln's political ambitions grew stronger. He served 4 terms in the Illinois House of Representatives, where he honed his political skills and championed his vision for economic development. His ambitions, however, extended to the national stage. In 1846, he was elected to the U.S. House of Representatives for a single term. During his time in Washington, he distinguished himself as a vocal opponent of the Mexican-American War. After his term ended, he returned to his law practice in Illinois, but his desire for public service hadn't faded. In the 1850s, the issue of slavery was tearing the nation apart. The Kansas-Nebraska Act of 1854, which allowed for the expansion of slavery into new territories, reignited Lincoln's political fire. He ran for the U.S. Senate twice, in 1855 and 1858. His 1858 campaign against the powerful incumbent Stephen Douglas became legendary for their series of brilliant debates. Although Lincoln lost the election, the Lincoln-Douglas debates elevated him to national prominence. His powerful speeches against the spread of slavery and his eloquent defense of the nation's founding principles captured the attention of the country. By 1860, the nation was at a breaking point. The newly formed Republican Party, which stood firmly against the expansion of slavery, saw Lincoln as their ideal candidate for president. His journey from a log cabin, his reputation for honesty, and his moderate yet firm stance on slavery made him a compelling choice. In a fiercely contested 4-way race, Abraham Lincoln was elected the 16th President of the United States. His victory, however, was the final straw for the slave-holding southern states. Before he was even inaugurated, South Carolina seceded from the Union, and soon, 6 more states followed, forming the Confederate States of America. Lincoln faced an unprecedented crisis. The very survival of the United States was at stake. In his first inaugural address, Lincoln appealed for unity, pleading with the seceding states, "We are not enemies, but friends. "We must not be enemies." But his words fell on deaf ears. In April 1861, Confederate forces fired on Fort Sumter, and the Civil War began. As president, Lincoln became the commander-in-chief of a nation at war with itself. The early years of the war were difficult for the Union, marked by a series of devastating defeats. Lincoln struggled to find a general who could effectively lead the Union Army to victory. But through it all, his resolve never wavered. He was a hands-on leader, deeply involved in military strategy and tirelessly working to maintain morale in the North. He understood that the war was not just about preserving the Union, but about the very soul of the nation. This conviction led him to issue the Emancipation Proclamation in 1863, which declared that all enslaved people in Confederate territory were to be set free. It was a monumental step that transformed the purpose of the war, turning it into a fight for freedom and human rights. Later that year, in November 1863, Lincoln traveled to the site of a brutal battle in Pennsylvania to dedicate a national cemetery. It was here, at Gettysburg, that he delivered what would become one of the most famous speeches in human history. In just 272 words, the Gettysburg Address masterfully redefined the meaning of the Civil War. Lincoln spoke of a new birth of freedom and challenged the nation to ensure that government of the people, be the people for the people, shall not perish from the earth. His brief, powerful words resonated across the country and have echoed through the generations, reminding us of the profound ideals for which so many had given their lives. It was a moment that crystallized his leadership and his vision for a unified, free nation. As the war raged on, Lincoln's leadership was put to the ultimate test. But with generals like Ulysses S. Grant finally leading the charge, the tide began to turn in the Union's favor. In 1864, amidst the ongoing conflict, Lincoln faced a tough re-election campaign. Many doubted whether he could win, but a series of key military victories bolstered public confidence. Lincoln was re-elected by a decisive margin. In his second inaugural address, delivered just a month before the end of the war, he offered a message, not of triumph, but of healing and reconciliation. He called on the nation to act with malice toward none, with charity for all, and to bind up the nation's wounds. His vision was for a just and lasting peace, one that would reunite the country and heal the deep divisions the war had created. On April 9, 1865, Confederate General Robert E. Lee surrendered, and the bloodiest conflict in American history finally came to an end. The Union was preserved. But just as the nation began to celebrate the peace, tragedy struck. On the evening of April 14, 1865, only 5 days after the surrender, President Lincoln and his wife Mary went to see a play at Ford's Theater in Washington, D.C. During the performance, an actor and Confederate sympathizer named John Wilkes Booth snuck into the presidential box and shot Lincoln in the back of the head. The president was carried across the street to a boarding house, where he died the next morning. The nation was plunged into a state of shock and profound grief. The man who had saved the Union and freed millions from bondage was gone. Abraham Lincoln's legacy is immense and enduring. He is remembered not just as the president who won the Civil War, but as a symbol of integrity, compassion, and democratic ideals. He guided the United States through its darkest hour, and in doing so, he not only preserved the nation, but also gave it a new birth of freedom. His life story, from a log cabin to the White House, continues to inspire people around the world, proving that with determination and a strong moral compass, one person can truly change the course of history. Thank you so much for joining us on this journey through the life of Abraham Lincoln. If you found this story as inspiring as we do, please hit that like button and subscribe for more deep dives into history's most fascinating figures. We'll see you in the next video.